Abhinav, how did you find carnivore?
Right. So, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. So, the person who's actually responsible for carnivore in my life is a man called Dr. Ankur Verma, whom I met at a party when I moved into a new apartment complex. And I'm from India, lived here all my life, and we've as a country we've pretty much have a carb based vegetarian diet, and fortunately I was brought up in a household where non-vegetarian food was something very common, and we would have it on the daily basis. But you can't just have the meats, you need to have some form of carb with it. You need to have your lentils and your flatbreads or your rice, or something to go along with it. And it's not something that you can have in every meal, so it's more of a luxury rather than a necessity. So I met Dr. Rankur at a party, and he told me, we got to talking, and he just told me about this carnivore diet. And I said, "What's that?" Because, in India, nobody can pretty much believe that you just live off meats. That's not possible. I mean, the notion is you'll die of a heart attack in a week because your cholesterol will shoot up, and it's going to clog up your arteries, and you're just going to die. Uh, and that's what I looked at him as, like, this man is a lunatic. That's not possible. And he told me that, I've been doing it for 1.5 years. And he showed me a before picture of him and his wife at the time. And uh, uh, and then the before and the now picture, I thought to myself, this is definitely AI or something. This is not possible, because this man would seem to look younger than what he was about 1.5 years back, both his wife and him. And it was just fascinating, but I still wasn't convinced. So he told me about his podcast. It was called the Desi EM Project. And so I just thought, okay, let me just have a look at this podcast. So every day on my way to and back the office, I would listen to his podcast. And it was that podcast that convinced me to sort of join this lifestyle, and not him. I mean, of course, he did sort of nudge me towards it, but it was the podcast, because it was the people and their experiences. And these people were not necessarily medical professionals or experienced dietitians. They were just many a times regular people who were just following this and managed to not only lose weight, because that's what I realize now is just a positive side effect, but what it really does to you is that you sort of start reversing diseases, including autoimmune diseases. What I heard from one lady. Now, I don't have a medical background. I don't understand a lot of these things, more than the general notion that people have about these kind of diseases and blood works and things like that. But this seemed to sort of debunk everything that we have learned since the very beginning. So, my wife and I, we decided to start this for the reason that, I had a daughter like a year back, and I realized if I continue to move in the path that I'm moving into, I'm not going to survive too long to watch her grow up. I had to do something, and I had to do something fast, because I was already becoming a diabetic. My last blood report showed a HB1AC of 9.1. I was 130 kilograms, and my diet was just anything and everything. I would drink on the weekends. But still, there was a lot of drinking involved on the weekends, and a lot of food from the outside, a lot of takeaways, a lot of order-ins, and I started that it started affecting me really bad. I mean, I would like tie my shoelaces and come back panting. It was that bad. So I started this journey religiously on the 1st of January 2025. And the first week, and Dr. Ankur already told me, listen, your stomach is going to be upset for the first week because your gut is going to start healing itself. So don't worry about it. It's not like your body is not accepting it. It's just that your gut is now getting used to all the good fat and the vitamins and the proteins it needs. So I started my journey from there, and we started getting these blood works and urine cultures every 3 months just to make sure that this lifestyle is suiting me. And even though it's like extremely experimental at this stage for me, I have to make sure that my uh, medical reports and everything is in order. So before starting, I was about 130 kilograms. My HB1AC with medicines that I had been taken at the time managed to, and with some diet, some vegetarian diet they put me on, came down to say 6.3, 6.4, and then again started going up once I moved into this new apartment complex because again lifestyle changes. And so that's where I was on the 1st of January. These were the two major issues I had. I started off with this diet. 3 months later, my HB1AC was down to 5.6, and I had lost weight. Mentally, I was way more active. Physically, I was active. I wasn't panting anymore when I would tie my shoelaces. I could pick my daughter up and run around for, a long period of times and not get tired. I would not feel lethargic all the time, which I would before. So I started to feel that this is working. And despite of a lot of criticism from all my family members and everybody saying that this is mad, your cholesterol is going to go off the charts, your uric acid is going to go off the charts. So, but we continued because it's just working. I don't understand it, but it's working. And we continued on this path, and saw something amazing happen. I saw every 3 months when I got these tests done, my cholesterol, well, it wasn't really falling, but it wasn't really going off the charts either. I mean, it was just maintaining, and something what they call the good cholesterol was improving. And my overall number came to, say, a tolerable threshold. My uric acid is consistently declining. So it sort of made me wonder what else is there that I, don't know about, or what else is there that is, I mean, not right about this. So, being in India, it's difficult for us to have this lifestyle unless you can do it at home. So, because it's meats are not very well, different kinds of meats are not really easily available. So, we have to source them from the very few vendors who can provide it to us, cook it at home, and then sort of, you know, uh, like you have to cook it either in ghee or in butter. So we can't afford to have it from the outside because I don't know if that guy is using refined oils. And and amazingly now the system is so sensitive that I get to know if a wrong oil has been used because immediately my stomach would tell me that, okay, you did something wrong or there was something wrong with the food you just had. So my body started talking to me. So when, like 3 months into this religiously, Dr. Ankur suggested that, I do these fasts every Thursday where, I would not eat anything for 24 hours. And I just live on water and black coffee. I don't even consume any salts on that day for 24 hours. And I said, okay, now that's crazy. That's not possible because I've never fasted in my life. And we have these, religious fasts in India, but you end up eating more on those days than on regular days. So I said, that's not possible. I've never done that. I'm going to have a headache. I'm going to be weak all day. He said, give it a shot, you know. So uh, I had my dinner on a Wednesday, and the time I ended my dinner to Thursday, the time I ended my dinner on a Wednesday, I started, so basically the 24 hours. And in that time, I felt, oh my God, this is going to be terrible, yada, yada, yada. Kept having water all day, black coffee, 2, 3 cups, maybe thinking something's going to happen, something's going to happen. Uh, I did not have a headache. I did not feel weak all day. In fact, towards the end of the 24 hours, when I thought that, okay, I'm going to be famished and I'm going to need, something to eat very quickly, I had more energy and I thought I could break that 24-hour threshold and I can go easily, move ahead. And I called him up the next day. I was like, this is amazing. I mean, it's not possible. So basically, since March of 2025 till date, every Thursday we fast, and I have not missed one. And even if for any reason we are unable to attend a fast on a Thursday, we'll do it on another day. But we make sure we do it once a week. And not once have I felt like I've had a headache. Not once have I felt low on energy. I, in fact, went to the gym once uh, on the day of a fast. And please understand, I'm not somebody who goes to the gym at all. In this entire journey, I have not been to the gym ever. Like 1 or 2 days, maybe, despite Dr. Rankur, scolding me about it. I just couldn't find the time. But I have been faithful to carnivore in this almost year that I'm going to finish now in the next 15 days. And in the process, I have lost about 31 kilograms. So from 130, I came down to 99 kilograms without working out, just following this diet religiously. And for the first time in, I think, 13 years, I came below the 100 threshold of the weight category. So I sort of celebrated. I said, okay, I'll have like a pizza if I go below that weight. And I was so excited, because I'm gonna get to have a pizza if I go. And like I and I could, I'm somebody who could finish a large pizza, no problem, right? Here's the thing. So excited, had a slice of pizza. I was like, I can't do this anymore. That's it. I'm done. One slice of pizza, and I felt like I've got stones in my stomach. I, my stomach was very upset the next day. It was literally like my body punishing me that, that's just junk you've put in your stomach, and that's not okay. So, and I don't, and the amazing thing is, I don't feel the need to have cravings for sweets and carbs and things like that anymore. Because initially, so I have somebody who's tried all sorts of diets in my life. because I've already always have these weight issues for a very long time. But none of those diets were comfortable. They felt like they were punishments, that I need to have this much amount of such and such thing at this particular hour, and work out these many times, and various different kind of things. But I think the reason why I've managed to sustain this for so long is because I'm very comfortable with it, and it has allowed me to sustain it, because it doesn't feel like a diet. So anybody ever asks me, oh, are you on the carnivore diet? I said no, it's a lifestyle. Because I can't go back now. I mean, many of my family members would come and ask, so how much longer do you think you're going to do this? Because I'm a nightmare when they invite me over for a meal. So I say, well, I'm not going back. I can't. I mean, I'm going to continue getting my tests done, of course, every 3 months, make sure everything is in order. But I'm not going to go back now. I can't. So I maintain this Excel chart of all my tests and every parameter, which shows me uh, basically, if things are going haywire, or if there is something wrong, because it's still experimental for me. But at the same time, it's working. So, I've seen my vitamin D levels improve. I've seen my B12s improve. And it's just something I have not seen before. If I was to share something about my wife's report, she's had thyroid for over 20 years now, and she's on very heavy, these the thyronorm medicines. She would have like about 162.5 milligrams every single day, and there is something called basically a thyroid resistors in the body that uh, is supposed to be in the range of 0 to 9 for a normal parameter. Hers was always 470 something. And with carnivore, for the first time in her life, she saw those resistors come down from 470 to 260. She still continues, on the medicines, but she's tapering them down with the help of, her endocrinologist and everyone who's sort of helping her with that. And, obviously, the weight loss is fantastic. We look better. I bought a pair of jeans yesterday itself, and I've gone an entire size down. Um, with my clothes, I've gone an entire size down. We attended the wedding season, nothing was fitting me. I had to go buy new clothes. So carnivore is turning out to be a little expensive for me because of all the new clothes I have to buy now. But
It's a nice problem to have though, right?
absolutely, yeah, I agree. And it is overall, you feel good, you feel more confident. I'm more confident at work, I'm more confident at home, and things are a lot more clearer to me. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just absolutely amazing.
Do you find any difference in your focus now compared to before when you're at work, for example?
I do, yes. So previously at work, sometimes you get this like a foggy brain, like you're working and you would sort of drift off in the middle, and you start thinking about something else, and then all of a sudden you remember, oh, I had a deadline. And so I'm a corporate lawyer by profession. So my work involves a lot of reading, a lot of focus, and basically a lot of reading between the lines. So there is a lot of focus that's required. So at one point of time, I started listening to focus music for people who have, say, ADHD, so that I could sort of focus, better on my work. And because I thought that, I just need to sort of zone in and hone my senses in. And I tried doing that, but it did not seem to be like a long term solution. And it also sort of confirmed I don't have ADHD. So, but at the same time, now, with carnivore, and again, in the very first week, I felt like, okay, suddenly I have woken up, and my senses are all over the place. And it's just, I'm really focused. Uh, I started understanding things better. I started understanding these new concepts better. And I just saw that I was a way more active at work, and I was very forthcoming with taking up initiatives at work, which I was not doing previously because I just felt lazy, quite frankly, because, like, I don't want to do this, like, let somebody else pick it up. And
Right.
now, other than like doing my own set of work, I'm there for my colleagues, my juniors, and I will go and ask them that, listen, if you need any help with anything, I'm here, like, I can help you out. So I started taking all these initiatives. So it's not only like physically and, metabolically is this diet is helping me, but it's also work wise, like my overall lifestyle has sort of like improved by leaps and bounds. And but like, don't get me wrong, like, I still drink on the weekends, but I don't drink like I used to. In the sense, like, I'm a whiskey drinker, but I would not mix anything uh, in the whiskey. I would only have water and ice maximum, and like no cocktails. uh, I did not have much of a sweet tooth before, uh, in the sense that I would miss it so much. But I did have a lot of sweets in the sense that every day cheesecakes. And if I start naming Indian sweets, I will not end. But there's a variety of them, and it's just a different world altogether. But I don't miss it anymore that much. And it's very different for different people. I mean, my wife still misses it a lot, but for some reason, I'm fine with it. I can go hours and hours without eating it.
Yeah, you sound a little bit like what's happened with me, like I was I never had a super sweet tooth, I don't think, but
Hmm.
a lot of the things what I was eating was pretty sweet. Um, but now I've got no emotional connection to those things.
Yeah,
It's like I can
absolutely.
see them and I can appreciate, wow, they look kind of nice, but like it looks more like I don't know, it's a broken link.
Yeah, I get that. Absolutely. And, speaking of broken links, I realized that every time I would have conversations about carnivore with other people now, they would still look at me like, okay, this is a lunatic. This is not possible what you're doing right now. And you're harming your body. And they would come up with questions like, don't you need carbs? I mean, you need carbs to survive. And I would be like, have you ever heard of anything known as a carb deficiency in your body, in a medically speaking? you know, because I was listening to Dr. Ankur's podcast, and that's when somebody from the US, I believe, mentioned this. And he said that, have you ever heard about a carb deficiency? Because there's protein deficiency, there's vitamin deficiency, there's no carb deficiency. Why? Because your body doesn't need it. You don't need any carbs to survive. You need your proteins, vitamins, fats. That's what you need. Carbs are just, additional weight that your body is having to process. And then they go, okay, that may be possible, but what about fiber? You need fiber. How can you live without fiber? And I would ask them, what is fiber? And they were like, well, it helps you with your, your daily motions and things like that. I said, No, it's just excess of sugars and cellulose collecting in your body. And again, I heard this on Ankur's podcast when somebody said that fiber is basically something like taking a steel wool on the inside of your intestine and they're just scrubbing and cleaning it all the way and letting everything out. And you tend to think that, oh, I have got such amazing movement that I must be so healthy. But you seem to have forgotten about the most primary definition of digestion, which is the body intakes what it needs and just excretes everything it doesn't need. So if you're having these fantastic motions, doesn't really mean that you're in excellent health. It just means that your body is excreting more than what it needs and taking in only what's required. So and these guys just still again look at me like I'm some sort of a lunatic and I don't know what I'm talking about because the doctors have been preaching this for so many years now.
These fiber proponents must be really fun at parties, like
Absolutely.
talking about their wonderful movements.
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
yeah. So day to day,
Mhm.
how many times are you eating each day, and what kind of meats, and like, do you do
Sure.
eggs?
Yes. So on a regular basis, especially on weekdays when I have office, I eat at office my breakfast. So I have basically 5 eggs scrambled in butter. So, and I have it cooked at the office. So I'm pretty much sitting on top of the guy's head, telling him what all he needs to put in there and that it needs to be cooked in butter and not in, the refined oils that everybody's using. So that's breakfast, basically 5 eggs. And then I'm good to go. So if I have my breakfast at 9, I'm good till say 2:30 in the afternoon. And the amazing thing is, my other colleagues who I see having a very heavy carb based breakfast would also have it with me at 9. But by 12:31, they're famished, like, oh my God, I need to eat something. I'm so low on energy. So, perfect example of a sugar high and then a sugar spike and then crashing, you know. So, uh, lunch is something that I cook uh, at home a night before, and then I'll just pack it, take it with me. Chicken, pork, fish, mutton. Uh, we, on this side of India, it's actually illegal to have beef, so we don't have any of that. But if I could ever get my hands on some, would love to sort of get that in there. But yeah, those are the restrictions I have to sort of work my way around. So yeah, so basically, I can't have shellfish basically because I'm terribly allergic to it. So I cannot have prawns and crabs, things like that. But allow me to share a very interesting incident with you. So even if I would touch crabs to, prepare for my wife, if I touch them raw, I would still get itchy fingers. So it's very sensitive. And we were at a wedding recently, and they had sushi at the wedding. And my wife got me one and said, "Oh, you should try have one at least. It's like really good and everything." So I had one, and then she quickly rushed back to the guy, and I'm wondering why is she rushing back. And she came back and said, "You had a prawn sushi." And I was like, "Oh my God, this entire night is ruined." Surprisingly, nothing happened. I had been on carnivore for 10 months, and Dr. Ankur did say that, you never know, you just might recover or you just might reverse this allergy. And I was like, that's too much of a risk, man, because I pretty much stop breathing if I have this thing. It swells up so bad. and nothing happened. So I was amazed at it. So sorry, coming back to my meals. Lunch is just all of those things. Dinner again, chicken, pork, mutton, fish. Um, on days I'm home for breakfast, lots of bacon to go with the eggs. And I so even if so in Indian meals, we add a lot of masalas and condiments and things like that while we are preparing the chicken, and the gravy is mostly, onion and tomato based. So I still have onions, but completely stopped on tomatoes uh, because I believe of something called oxalates, if I'm not wrong, which it is very high on. So completely stopped on those factors. Cheese and dairy is something that I still enjoy. So basically, my diet, if I was to narrow it down, is eggs, meats, dairy products. That's it, and salt.
Fantastic. And when you first talked to your wife about it, was it hard to convince her to give this a try, or was she just on board straight away?
No, that was seemed like an uphill battle for me at first because it took quite a lot of convincing because you see I was the one who was listening to the podcast and I was the one who was getting convinced, and she didn't know. She still thought that Ankur is a lunatic and I'm a lunatic for listening to him, and it was just difficult for her to understand this because similar to me, she also comes from a background who have a non-veg diet in India, and in fact, the her family has a tradition of being able to prepare 10 different types of muttons, uh, in their household. So that's one of the reasons why I married her, I guess. So it was just at first it was difficult because she has a sweet tooth and she could not imagine a meal without rice because it was staple for her and she's had it all her life. And one day I just come to her saying, "Hey, listen, we're gonna have to stop everything." And it took some work. So what I should have done was shown her the before and after pictures with the get-go, because that convinced her immediately, because she saw how thin the person became, like, in such a short span of time. And she was like, "Oh, okay, nah, okay, let's give it a shot." But her first week was very difficult for her because I mean, I think she just like resisted a lot. She wasn't maybe as convinced, and with the gut fixing itself, it again became a problem for her. And she thought, "Oh, this is not suiting me. Something is wrong." So I pretty much had to convince her. Listen, he told me, Doctor Ankur, that this would happen. So it's okay. It's normal. You don't have to worry about it. So yeah, but now that she's on board, she's loving it, and I love to prepare meals for her. And or we have a cook who comes in who prepares, but on days that she can't do it, I'm the one who's preparing, and I'm a big barbecue guy, so that's always a plus. And yeah, so it's going pretty well for both of us now.
That's fantastic. So, almost 1 year in,
Mhm.
do you feel like this is the way you could eat forever?
Yes, I genuinely do that. I can because, uh, as I said before, this doesn't feel like a punishment. It feels like a blessing, because it's not difficult. I mean, if you can manage your meals, and if you can manage the oils you need to cook them in, and if you're lucky enough to procure all the raw material you need, there is no reason why I can't continue with this for the rest of my life. I mean, I can't, as I said before, I can't go back. I mean, it's just not possible. My body is not going to accept it. And quite frankly, I can't go back to the way I was, because then that would mean that I would simply not survive for very, very long. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, you're on no meds now?
Yes. So when I started carnivore, I stopped my sugar medication immediately. So I think I just maybe a week in, and then I completely stopped. And I've been free of medicine. Many years ago, back in 2017, I had a short span of hypertension where I had to take blood pressure medicines as well. I took that for a year or so, but I think it just became okay on its own after that. But I always had like a high level of blood pressure. It would always be, say, like 140, 145 over 90. And I started calling that my new normal. But since carnivore, my blood pressure is pretty much somewhere about 125, 180, 125 over 80, 85. So that's like the normal at how it's going.
That's fantastic. And it's nice how everything normalizes because it's a reinforcing way of eating because,
Mhm.
it's tastes good, you're satiated, you don't feel hungry, and also your numbers all start to get better, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And that was the first thing that I was surprised at, that my numbers are somehow improving. So this is pretty much debunking everything that our medical professionals are taught, and they have been telling us for all these years. Because every time I would go with my tests to a doctor, he would recommend, oh, you should have like a veg diet for some time, and have as much greens in your diet as possible, and you need more fiber in your diet and whatnot. And I can't begin to imagine how wrong they are at this point of time, because I've been doing this for almost a year now, and I don't feel the need of fiber. I'm not constipated. I have, you know, as my party conversations go, I have fantastic motions every, like once every 2 days, and zero complaints from my gut. And if I do something wrong, my gut tells me. So I mean, it's absolutely life altering, and it's I couldn't be more thankful for this.
Mm. Yeah. So if a friend said to you, "I want to try this. I'm
Mhm.
willing to give it 90 days to see if it helps me." Would
Yeah.
you advise them to jump in cold turkey and just get started, or would you advise them to transition in slowly?
Okay. So the thing about carnivore, what I've realized is I don't think you can transition into it. You have to jump in cold turkey, because if you really want to see the results, jumping in cold turkey is the way to go. Because I can only talk from personal experience, and that's what I did. I stopped everything, on the 1st of January, completely changed my diet, had a stomach upset for 3 days, as I was told. But from the get-go, um, I mean, from week one, I started seeing differences. I started finding that the brain fogginess is improving. I mean, it's not like pretty much there anymore. I'm way more active. I'm able to sort of think quicker on my feet somehow. So if my friend says that I'll give it 90 days, I said, I would probably say, you do this cold turkey and just do it for 3 weeks or a month, and you are not going to go back. So that's what I believe.
Yeah, that's the thing, once you do it for a certain period of time, like,
Mhm.
you would it's a very rare person that's gonna go, "Yeah, I don't like this feeling healthy stuff, I'm going back."
So we have this, a small group of people from all over India who are Dr. Ankur's patients who follow his carnivore advice. And we have this Thursday fast support group kind of a thing where, everybody just uh, helps each other out, and we sort of answer each other's questions. If they say, oh, like today I'm feeling a little famished, so maybe can I have like this or that, or so we tell them no, you can't have that, but have some salt water instead if you want to, because your body is asking for it. So we all have become these quack doctors, thanks to Dr. Ankur. We are suggesting what the other person can have. So in that group, I think we are now 11 strong, and surprisingly, there are two people from that group who religiously have only had vegetarian diet all their lives, and it's a major taboo for somebody from their community to actually consume non-vegetarian food. And and we have two people from that community there who I don't even think have ever had meats in their life before this, and are extremely thankful and healthy and happy with the way things are going, still hiding things from their family. But they are very happy with how it's going. So, I mean, if somebody who's had vegetarian all their life and has been told that you cannot have any form of meats ever in your life, try it and are happy with it, I don't think there can be a better testament than that, because the results are everything, right? And I have not heard one person in that group ever say, oh no, this is not okay, I want to go back. I mean, I've seen people reverse age. My family came and told me, you look better, and your face looks better, and you have like better beard growth somehow, which because I was like this big a face before, so my beard was all patchy and all over the place. Really, like your the head on your hair has become better. I had hair loss, it stopped. They said that things are, I mean, I don't know what you're doing. They're still skeptical about it, but they're like, but now if it's working for you, just like go for it. I mean, let's just see where it takes you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Abhinav, if people wanna reach out to you, do you have any social media or any way of getting in contact?
Yes. So I have a Instagram page that goes by ADV Abhinav, uh, which is somewhere where people can sort of get in touch with me, or you can just look me up on Facebook and by the name of Abhinav Shankar, and you can just get in touch with me if you want to feel like having a conversation with me. You can do that. But if you want to really have a conversation about carnivore, especially in India, and somebody who understands Indian diets, I would definitely suggest getting in touch with Dr. Ankur Verma, or listening to his podcast, the Desi EM Project. And so, yeah, I believe that he's the foremost authority in India right now as far as carnivore is concerned.
Right.
And I'm really lucky to sort of meet the guy, you know.
Mm. Yeah. No worries. Well, I'll link to your socials and also link to Dr. Verma in the show notes.
Mhm.
Abhinav, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and experience. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Dave. I really appreciate this opportunity and to be a part of this amazing initiative that you have taken to make the world more aware about carnivores. So, thank you very much for that.